Hello everyone. We'll start very soon. Just waiting for some more people to join. So we'll start in a couple of minutes. Just a quick check. Uh, am I audible? So you can just respond. Someone can just confirm, please. Okay, great. Great. Thank you so much. So we'll start very soon. Uh, Hello everyone. So again, let's start. People will join in between. So thanks again, first of all, for joining the session. So the topic that we are going to see today is the Tableau. We'll see some data analysis using Tableau, some kind of visualizations as well. Okay. So first of all, one very basic rule, how are we going to interact today is the chat functionality using on this Zoom platform. So I am pretty sure everyone is aware of this thing. So whenever you have any doubts, just write any post your queries there, and we will try to respond it whenever possible. Most of the things that we can discuss again later during our Q&A session as well. So all your questions are welcome. Okay, just a quick check around, like from where you are dialing in today. Just name of your country, city. Okay, please respond in chat. Okay, India, Sri Lanka. Okay, Gazanpati, Poland. Great. Uh, India. Okay, Philippines. Okay, most of my friends are from India. Okay, great. Philippines. India again, Singapore. Okay, great guys. Thanks. Surat, India. Okay. Oh wow, Canada. Okay, that's very far from here. Okay, great. Thanks, guys. Thanks for again joining. Let's start our session. We'll see. Probably you will learn today something. That's what we hope. So, starting with a little bit about ourselves, what our company does. So, Zoltis is a Singapore-based company basically, and we are more inclined towards the technology and the data side. So, we are a data-driven company. We deal, our expertise is mostly towards the data side. So, it could be data engineering, data science, big data, cloud platforms, and our products and solutions what we offer are mostly on the machine learning and AI platforms. We use those things, deep learning platforms again. So we use those techniques to deliver. Regarding the training side, we are very much involved into the offline and online classroom training sessions to corporate and to the retail as well across Southeast Asia region. So it's like our all our trainers are experienced from industries. So it's like something that we are doing from long time. So these are the links that you can actually go and check our websites, which is Exaltius. Some of our clients, it involves all the maybe finance sectors, your retails part, your universities, schools. So these are our clients that we have served till date. It's just a very few. I mean, you can check on our website as well for the others. Some sessions that what we have done in past again, be it corporate or be it universities, be it any firm like Google as well. So we have done to deliver this kind of courses to them as well, right? So, okay, so today we are will be the speakers. My name is Pranjal Dubey, and along with me today, Gauri will be with me for the second part of this session. And we are from Exaltius again, and most of our experience is towards the data side, data science and data analytics. So here is the LinkedIn, our links as well. I mean, you guys can actually connect with us. It would be glad to connect with you all. So let's start with, that was the complete like beginning. Let's start with the real thing. Okay, can anyone tell me what is this? What this number is representing? Just any guess? You guys can respond on the chat. What this number seems to you? Anyone? Any guess? Okay, Jaideep, data. I'm a data info in the world. Okay, amount of data in the world. Okay, great. Any other wild guess? Facebook. Okay, great guys. Social media push. Okay, now this much data we create every single day. It's not the amount of data that what we have at till date. This is the data that we create every single day. If you check this called exabytes, so it's like 2.5 exabytes of data that we create every single day. So see the volume, see the amount that we are generating every day, right? Again, there are a lot of sources. We will see how why this much data is there and how rapidly the volume of data was increasing. So but we have to see, that's why because of this much data there was a need again, the need came to handle this, how to handle those kind of data. And that's why there was a growth in the data science and the data analytics platform, different tools, different techniques to handle this, right? So we'll have to see what are the different regions, what are the different regions for the significant growth of this. So first one is definitely the explosion of data volume, right? So the data got exploded from, like, it's just a decade back. If you see from 2010 onwards, right, it increased a lot, right? So that is how the data came into that, into many folds actually. So this was one of the reason. Second reason was again the devices that are connected to the internet, right? Our smart watches, smart cars, smart things, all those devices are there. So thanks again to the internet of things, all these are related, connected to internet, and that's why we are generating all this data. So this was the second reason why there was a lot of data again. Third is the storage capacity. So storage capacity as nowadays are so cheap that, I mean, as compared to whatever you have seen like 10 years back, That's how the storage capacity, that they are very very cheap, and so that you can buy, you can store a lot of data. You don't have to spend much amount of money. And also that's how things are again easy to handling this kind of data. And the very important thing is the interest. So earlier it was not there, people were not aware of that, companies were not aware of that, they were not using this much, they were not into the analytics platform. But since uh, when the data we had, and then we started using handling the data, then there was a requirement of this, creating new models, how to get insights from them. So the machine learning, artificial intelligence, deep learning, all this, the interest got picked. So that is why everyone is now focusing on these things, on the data part. Okay, question for you. Just get data is the same as insight. Is it true or false? You can respond on chat. Okay, false, false, false. Anyone for true? Okay, great guys, great, thanks. Yes, yes, data is not same as insight. So the answer is false. Correct. So we will see the why, what is the reason that. So if you just talk about a little about the data workflow. So the initial thing that you first is frame, right? Where you develop your hypothesis for your analysis. So that where you see something, you get the data actually, and then after that you prepare, that means you do some kind of pre-processing of the data, you clean it, you do some importing and everything. After then you analyze it, you structure something, you visualize the thing, and then you interpret those the visualizations, and you get insights from there, and then at last you communicate. So when you interpret, that's where insight comes. But data is the actually first one, the raw data is actually where you have started the getting the data, right? So that's why it's not the same actually. It's data is not equals insight. So again, so what is the things, this analytics word again, I mean, when we talk about the insights, what was the magic behind from getting the data, getting the hidden things meaning from the data? So that's what we call as analytics. So basically the definition is discovery, interpretation, and communication, right, of meaningful patterns. That's what it means, that you find something hidden meaning from the raw data using some technique. That's what we call as analytics, right, to get some insights. Now if you see this very, I mean, this chart actually, how what it is representing, is it representing the maturity of the analytical capability. So earlier what we used to do is we just used to find out what was the reason something happened, right, from using the raw data. So that was kind of descriptive analysis, what you would say. But not only but with the advanced technology and using the algorithms, now what we are doing actually is not only what happened, but why did it happen. That means we are finding the root cause as well. Then we are using some predictive analysis, what we are defining what will happen tomorrow, right? So that's again a analysis that what we are doing. And not only that, we are optimizing the things, and then we are recommending to the customers that what is the best that could happen, right, and what you should do. So this kind of insights, if you see, the collective insights are increasing with the help of this, the new capabilities of analytics. So whether I mean, it doesn't matter which industries, all the industries are using the data to solve their business cases, right, to solve their business problems. Probably be your prediction of something, or your, getting the new things, getting the sentiments of the customers, getting the maybe the interest of the customer. So all everything is customer driven very much, and I'm customer focused basically, would say. So all the domains are actually using this data and the analytics platform. So let's talk about a little thing. Analytics is comprised of basically the two parts. We could say the first is visualization and the second is storytelling. So we will see those things now. But before visualization, I will wanted to discuss a lot thing about something called visual analytics. So what does it mean basically? So as the words it's written here, it helps people see and understand their data, right? So some kind of analytics, which is the visual part, how it is easy. So I'll just quickly ask you a question. Uh, how many nines are there? Just write, count and write it. Let's see how number you are getting here. Okay, okay, great. That was fast. That was fast. Eight. Okay, great. So usually it takes some time, probably a couple of seconds to know to find out uh, the count is because of this kind of the data if you have if you're it is provided to you, right? So it's again your visual thing. Now, if the same question I ask like this, now how many nines are there? So probably definitely it will take a much shorter time than usual, right, for you to count the total number of nine is. The reason is again the human visual system is powerful. So how I just interpreted the data, how I highlighted certain things, that what I want to focus on, this is called as visual analytics, right? So that's how the things work. So again, it's easy for you to interpret if it is nicely presented, the raw data is nicely presented. That's what why data visualization comes into picture. So what does it means? Basically, it is the presentation of data that what you saw in a pictorial form or graphical format or any other format, right? So it just makes, it enables the decision makers to see it very visually. I mean, it would be easy for them to decide as well, right? To see the things that what you want to show them. Now, a lot of charts are available. A lot of tools are also available for the data visualization in the market. But you, based on the data that what you have and what you want to show, how what all the different things that you want to get from the data, the insights, you have to select the graphs accordingly. So suppose you have the comparison things, you have so many graphs on the top, bar chart, column chart, etc. When you have the distribution, you can use this line histogram and all. You have the composition, you can use pie charts, different models as well. Relationships also, we have scatter chart, bubble chart. So you have to see which chart best suits to your data, right? So that's how we need to see. So one question again, like based on again your experience, which type of visualization we should never use, should be never used in a business setting? Okay, it is 3D, 3D. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Great. So the answer is again, yeah, 3D, because bar chart, line chart, pie chart is very often we use it, right? So 3D chart, that's something that we actually want to avoid. It doesn't represent the much information there. So uh, uh, a very couple of examples that I will show whether it is good or bad visualization. So suppose this one is, how do you say, is it a nice visualization or it's a good visualization basically, or bad visualization? Anyone? How it looks to you? Anyone, whether it is clear to you or you can understand the chart? So what you would say, it's a good visualization or bad? Yeah, definitely looks neat. Yes, that's great. Yeah, so that's why the reason is it's a very good visualization because it's very neat, very properly aligned. You know, the things that what it want, the information that it is showing is very accurate, I mean very clear, right? The focus what you want to show. So it's a very good things, all the many KPIs actually it is showing. So that's why we can say it as a nice visualization. But definitely you don't want to create something like this, right? This is again a pie chart. Pie chart we use a lot, but not with this volume of data. Now again, I mentioned, you have to select the chart as well based on your data, right? So your data, suppose this is showing the 100 most active tweeters, so definitely pie chart is not a good option for this, right? So maybe probably you want to switch it to bar chart or line chart, whatever, but not this pie chart, right? So you have to select according to your data. Or this also, so this is example of the 3D chart, that's why we shouldn't use this. It doesn't reflect any meaning, so you should avoid this one. So this is not a good one, definitely. What about this one? Is it good or bad? Yes, correct. It is too much info, bad, messy, confusing. Yes, too much. Definitely. So what we don't want here is too much text. We should avoid. We should avoid those pictures. Actually, we don't need. Probably a colors combination also we can improve a little bit. So too many things are there. It's very messy. You don't want to see, right? So these are the things that you should keep in mind while representing. That is the point why your visualization, and this is very important, right? When you're going to represent something to management. Okay. Question again, a quick check. The core fundamental of data visualization is empathy, simplicity, volume. What is the core fundamental of this particular, what we have just discussed? Yes, great guys. Yeah, so that's the simplicity. Your chart should be simple enough, it should be very simple so that at least audience can understand and get the things what you want to show, right? So yes, the answer is simply simplicity. Yes, that's correct. Thanks. Uh, so that was our visualization part. What are the insights when you talk about that you are getting the hidden meaning and the insight from the raw data? What does it actually mean? So if you see this, when you talk about the fact is actually your raw data. Fact is something that your data is in initial phase, right? What you do, you actually observe the things, you actually observe the data carefully, and from that you do some kind of cleaning and everything, and then what you do, you get some insights from the charts that what you got. So that is insight, and what you'll do, what we'll do using that insight, you will take some kind of actions, right, for your business. So the insight actually, it's uncovering a shared meaning, right, or the shared need that can be translated into action. So I will now show you a very beautiful example of the insight, or the finding and the insight and the recommendation. So everyone definitely, like, we use Netflix, right, on a daily nowadays. Definitely we watch movies, we watch series and all. So whenever, so what was the finding actually, what the Netflix company, they found that the customers are not watching the entire video to its full length, right? So they are just watching 90 to 95% of the total video that what's there available. So that was a finding, right? The raw finding from the raw data. Now, what was the insight there? That when we checked and when they interpreted everything, they go find that the parts that are they are not watching as the title role and the end credits. Okay, so you just think about that. We also do the same thing. We usually just skip the title role and the end credit part, right? We just move to the next episode, switch, skip the intro, and all those things we do. So that's why the recommendation was to introduce the skip intro at the beginning of the title roles and watch next at the beginning of end credits. And what they did is they changed their business operation model. What they did, they benchmarked the 90 to 95% watched as completed, right? And then so that the customers, when to move to the next video, it is defined as completed for them. So that is how finding insight and recommendation takes place using the data. So this is a picture that it explains this skip intro we usually do, and also the next episode part, just to avoid this thing. So that's how, this is just a short example. Any other companies, all they are using the data just to change their business operations, right? So that's what we call it in actionable insights. When we say that to you insights, that what you got, you have to take in something meaningful action on that. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about storytelling part. What is storytelling? Storytelling is it's an art basically, right? It's an art. How you are conveying your message to audience, how you are building empathy with your audience, how you can access them emotionally. That means how you are conveying your data to them with the help of a story, right? That's what storytelling means. So very important are these four things, actually four elements of a storytelling. Number one is actually know your audience. Definitely you should know who are they and why they are here. So that's what know your audience part, right? Second is know your story. That means why, what you are going to explain, what you are going to say, what story you are going to tell, right? Based on the what kind of data you have, you should know that very properly as a storyteller, right? So that's the second one. Third is know your message. That means how you are crafting your message, right? So what should be the sequence of the things that you are going to explain? So all these things comes into that, is also very important, right? So that audience can understand easily. And the last but not least is your know your tool. That is very important again, because your all the story, you have the different kind of data, you have different kind of story, so you must choose a very specific tool. It's not like common, you can choose, right? So that's what your last one is, tool part. uh, so these four are the elements of the good storytelling part. Why stories again? Because these are emotional. I mean, yeah, agree. They are memorable as well, and they're very impactful. So that's why people usually remember the stories whenever you explain, rather than you sort them at Excel file or CSV file data. It won't create much effect as compared to the stories, right? So okay, so we have discussed about the data visualization, storytelling as well. So talking about the tool, so this is a report generated by Gartner again. So Gartner reports are actually very famous, and it's a one of the authentic report that what we have in the market. So this report is the latest one as of January 2020. If you see, so you see on the top on the right side, the leaders are actually Microsoft and Tableau. So the Microsoft is basically Microsoft Power BI. Okay, so this is again one of the very important tool which people are actually they are using nowadays. All the companies are moving towards the Power BI as well, and the second one is here Tableau. So 2 years back Tableau was on the top, but these two are actually the leaders and the competitors as well. So everyone is actually moving into these two things. So what we will see today is we are going to discuss more into Tableau part. So now my colleague Gauri will take you guys over this Tableau part, and she will explain certain things, and then you can actually learn what about the tool and everything. So again, I'm handing over to Gauri. Over to you, Gauri.
Thank you, Pranjal, for handing this over to me. So I'll just start sharing my screen. So just confirming from you guys that you're able to see my screen and hear me. Just hit a yes in the chat box, if so. Okay. So as Pranjal mentioned that Microsoft Power BI and Tableau are the leaders now, and the tool of our choice today is Tableau. So giving introduction about Tableau, Tableau is one of the fastest growing data visualization tools which is currently being used in the BI industry widely. With Tableau, you don't need to worry about the size of the data you're going to import. It's pretty quick with any size of the data, and it also provides a wide variety of data connection options. You can connect to a wide range of data sources. Well, apart from these two, for a non-technical user also, Tableau is quite a lifesaver because if you don't know coding, it's okay because Tableau provides the no-code data queries. So in a nutshell, Tableau is greatly used because data can be analyzed very, very quickly. Tableau is pretty fast and visualizations are generated as dashboards. You can then get insights out of these data, and you can take actionable insights which helps the business grow. So the visualization lifecycle is that you have the data, you connect the data to a data visualization tool, which is Tableau in this case. You do visualizations of these data, and then finally do analysis, take decision and actions out of this, and finally see the impact of the actions that you have taken on the business data that you've got. So in Tableau, two things are very important to know. One is measures and the other is dimensions. So what are measures and dimensions? Measures are the quantifiable data that we have, that we can perform mathematical operations on. We can aggregate them like the sales amount or income, etc. And dimensions are the categorical data which we cannot quantify. So examples of dimensions are locations or country, regions, etc. So let's now explore Tableau together. So the things that we are going to see in Tableau today, we'll be importing a data set, we'll be applying grouping into the data set, we'll create hierarchies, we'll work with calculated fields, we'll create and use parameters in the data, we'll see how to use filters, and then finally configure a dashboard. So the data that we'll be looking into today is a New York arrest data. I'll be showing the data in a while. And the metrics that we are going to calculate from that data is the total arrests. We'll also create visualizations based on top crimes, arrest per jurisdiction and boroughs, arrest over time. We'll see the arrest trend, and then arrest pattern by age group, and then we'll be applying some filters to the data. So By the end of this webinar, we will be able to create a dashboard of this sort. Now, the data that we have is this New York Crime Department's data. We have the arrest key, which are the identifiers of the data. We have the arrest date, basically on which date the arrest had happened. We have the police department description of the crime the criminals had committed. We also have the offense description. So basically this police department description comes under offense description. Offense description is at a higher level. We also have the law category code. We have arrest bureaus, basically from where the arrest has happened. We also have the arrest precinct, which are again identifiers. We also have the jurisdiction code. Now, this jurisdiction code ranges from value 0 to 97, but these jurisdiction codes have some categories. So basically, these zeros are for housing, for the ones are for patrol, the twos are for transit, and the rest from 3 to 97 are non-NYPD jurisdictions. We also have the age group of the criminals, the sex, the race of the criminals, and we also have the X coordinate of the place and Y coordinate. So these are basically the local coordinates that were there within New York. But we are not going to focus on this coordinates. We are going to focus on the latitudes and longitudes, which are globally given to the locations. So let's jump into the Tableau and connect this data to Tableau. So we are going to connect this New York crime data. And you can see whatever I showed you in Excel, you can see the same thing loaded over here, and how fast it is. You just saw within a click, like the data got loaded. You can see these small icons on the top. So basically this hash signifies that this is a numeric column. So the data type of this is a number. You can also see this calendar, small calendar icon, which shows that arrest date has been loaded as date data type. If you go beyond, you can see that the police department description, which is a text obviously, has been loaded as a text data type, which is a string basically. Now, if we go to the extreme right, we can see that there are small globe icons, which are geolocations. So the latitudes and longitudes have been loaded as geo data type in Tableau. So we can see that the data type has been loaded correctly, and the data types that have been the Tableau has understood the data type also correctly, and it has enabled these icons over here. Now this is the screen when we see when we connect the data. So you can see these three icons down. These are the sheets. You can click on this add new worksheet and click on adding worksheets to this dashboard, to this Tableau. You can also click the new dashboard over here to add new dashboards. You can also add stories over here. This is the ribbon that we have for particular functions and actions in Tableau. You also have this pane where the dimensions and measures are loaded. So before I explain what are dimensions and what are measures, so by default, Tableau actually takes into account and segregates these data into dimensions and measures. Now we need to check whether the dimensions and measures have been loaded correctly, and if not, then we can change the measures to dimension if required and dimensions to measures, whatever is required. We also have this columns and rows shelf. We'll be utilizing these to create our visualizations. We have the sheet name over here. We also have the filters pane. We'll also see how we can take dimensions into these filters and use them for our data visualization. We also have the marks card. The marks card basically enhances the details into your visualization. It increases the level of details in your visualization. So we'll see in a while that what these are capable of. Now, from the data, we can see that we have these dimensions and measures being loaded. Now, the first thing that we should do, we should look into the metrics that we can get from this data. Now we have the arrests data over here. We can show the number of arrests that has happened, the total number of arrests. So let's do that. Now, the total number of arrests can be counted by the arrest key that we had got. But arrest key is a dimension, it's a category. If I drag this to the canvas, we see that each arrest key individually takes this, and then we cannot aggregate this. We cannot perform any kind of mathematical operation to this because this has been loaded as a dimension, which is not correct. So what we need to do first is we need to convert this arrest key to a measure. So we just need to click and convert it to a measure. Now, if we drag this arrest key over here, we get a number over here, which is the sum of each arrest key. We do not need the sum individually of each arrest, but instead we need the count over here. So we are going to change this to count, and we can see that there are 18,872 arrests that had happened. Now, we need to change this sheet title over here, and I'm going to name this as arrests. I'm going to change the font also, and I'm going to reduce this because I'll be using this later to my metric card. Now, I can also add filters to this. Let's go ahead and add this age filter over here. So if I add this filter here, I'll just change this to a drop down. And if I say select 18 to 24, you see the arrests, number of arrests changes accordingly. If I select 25 to 44, you see the number of arrests changes, and we can see that 25 to 44 has the highest number of arrests. So that age group is prone to more crimes. Now I'll remove all the filters. I'll select everything over here. Next, we can also add this sex filter over here. I'm going to add the sex filter over here, and I'm going to select this as a drop down. And now if you select the females from here, you see that the arrests are changing. Now what I need to do is, I have added these filters. We'll see later that we need to actually change this filter context over here. So we'll see that later when we come back to the dashboard. We are also going to change this to the sheet name to arrests. Next, what we are going to see is, we are going to see the top crimes over here. Now, I mentioned when I showed the data set to you that police department description comes under offense description. So we can create a hierarchy out of this. So creating hierarchy in Tableau is quite easy. You just have to drag this police department description under offense description, and a hierarchy gets created over here. Now we have to use this hierarchy in our visualization. So I'm going to drag this hierarchy that I created, and I'm going to drag this to the rows option, and I'm going to drag the arrest key over to the columns option. Now you see by default this aggregation takes a sum of all the arrests. I'm going to change this to count over here, and I'm also going to sort it from high to low. Now you see that there is a small icon over here. You can click on this icon, and you see that under offense description of dangerous drugs, everything what is coming under dangerous drugs is also being visible over here. So you can just minimize this if you don't want to see. You can expand this and minimize this. Sure, yeah. I'll go a bit slow. So so far, is everything fine, or is there any doubt? Just let me know if there is any doubt. Okay, so I see no questions over here. Yes, I'll explain how this hierarchy was created. So you just need to drag this police department description under offense description. So basically, if I remove this, and if I remove hierarchy over here, you just need to select the police department under offense description, and you are going to select OK, and a hierarchy by default gets created. Now you can drag this to your rows shelf, and then you can sort it as well. So this hierarchy gets created. You can expand and collapse as well. Now, by default, we can see that all the crimes get listed over here. But we do not need to see all the crimes. We can use a filter instead to filter out, say for example, we want to see only top 10 crimes. So what I can do is I can select this offense description and I can put it in filter. And there are many options in filter. I'm going to use this top option over here and I'm going to select top 10. Now you see I can just see the top 10 crimes that has happened, which are dangerous drugs, assault 3 and related offenses, etc. But this doesn't increase the user interactivity. Whoever uses this report will be confined to just using 10 or just seeing 10 crimes. So we do not want to confine that. We want to increase the interactivity of the report user. So what we can do is we can use a parameter over here and then ask the user to input the values on which he wants to see the crime. So let's see, we are going to edit this filter, and instead of giving a user defined fixed value of 10 over here, what we are going to do is we are going to create a parameter. So the parameter's name, let me give it a top n. So just a moment, somebody just annotated over here. Okay, so that we are going to create this top n filter over here, and then we are going to select OK and apply OK. Now see, a top n parameter gets it's visible over here, and you can change the option to a type in option over here. Now if you change this to 7, say, you see the number of crimes are actually 7. If you say select 5, the top 5 crimes are actually visible over here. Now let's add a title to this. So let's add top. Now I can use the same parameter in the title as well and give this crimes. I'm going to change the font of this and make it central aligned. Now you see, when I select 10 over here, the title also changes accordingly. So this is the beauty of a parameter. So you can increase the user interactivity as well as the visualization accordingly. So this sheet name also I'm going to rename it to top crimes. So till here, anybody has any doubt? Kindly post your doubts in the chat if you have any doubt, or else we can just jump into the next visualization. All right. So coming to the next visualization, we would like to see the number of arrests per borough and jurisdiction. Now, the jurisdiction has been given in the data as jurisdiction code, but we have to change this to the codes actually given in text by the police department. So I mentioned earlier that 0 stands for housing, 1 stands for patrol, 2 for transit, and the rest from 3 to 97 stands for non-NYPD. So in order to do so, we need to create groups over here. So let's create a group, which is pretty easy again. We just need to create and select the group option. So I'm going to select the 0 and group it to housing over here, as zeros are for housing, ones are for transit, twos are for patrol, and all the rest, so I'm going to select them together and group it to non-NYPD. So we have created this jurisdiction code group. Now we are going to use this group into our visualization. So we are going to first show the arrest borough over here. We are going to select the jurisdiction code group over here and then see the arrest keys. Now you see you have got a segmented graph over here, segmented column chart over here. Again, by default, it takes the sum of the arrest key. We are going to change it to count. Now, what we can do is we can, so this graph kind of looks very flat over here. Now, remember I told you that you can increase the details of your visualization, and as Pranjal also mentioned, like how to identify the number of 9s. You can actually add in colors, you can add in shapes to actually highlight what you want to show your to your audience. Now, it will be good to add this jurisdiction code to the colors in Marks pane. So you see, for each columns now I have a different color, or each jurisdictions I have a different color. I can also add in shapes over here, and you see for each jurisdiction I have a new shape and a new color over here. Now this will be very easy for me as well as the audience to understand the data, and visually it's very insightful. Now we already have these legends over here, which is kind of repetitive because the colors itself are sufficient to see which jurisdiction is for what. So I'm going to remove this legend from this pane. Now, this is also, this arrest borrow per jurisdiction is also kind of repetitive because I'm going to add a title to this anyways. So I'm going to hide this as well. Even these labels over here are not required because we already have this legend over here. So I'm going to hide this header from this visualization. Now it will be good to add an average line because we can see the number of arrests over here, but then we don't know what is the average number of arrests. So if we highlight the average number of arrests to each jurisdictions, it will be good. So each jurisdiction or each borrows, it will be good. So let's go ahead and add an average line over here. So to each pane, I'm going to add an average line. Now this average shows just the label, which is the average, and you have to hover over on average to see the number of arrests that has happened. We can format this, and we can actually edit this and change this to a custom, and I can add computation, which will show the computation that I want to do, and it will also show the value of the average. So we can see that average of 1002.25 is the average number of arrests. Now, this cannot be a fraction, right? A half person or a 1/4 person can't be arrested. So this is kind of weird. So we need to add some sort of formatting to this, and we are going to change this to a whole number. So now you see the average number of arrests in each borrow is 1002 or 1294, so on and so forth. So this is the visualization for arrests per jurisdiction and borrow. So similarly, I'm going to change this font over here. I'm going to make it bold and make it central aligned, and also rename this sheet to arrest borrow. Okay, so till now we created a metric card, we created the top crimes, we created arrest per jurisdiction and borrow. What about if we can show the trend how arrests is happening? So basically taking into account the number of arrests throughout the time. So the data that we have got now is of December 2017. So let's go ahead and show this visually. So what we are going to do is we are going to pull this arrest date to the column shelf, and we are going to pull this arrest key to the rows shelf. Now again, I have to change the sum to count. Now you see, we just have these values of 2017 because year is again the top level in the date hierarchy. So that is at the most aggregate level. We do not need at the most aggregate level because we do not have data for all years. So what we are going to do is we are going to change this to day, and we have to have a continuous chart also. Now we have a null value over here. I'm going to hide this indicator. Now this line shows the number of arrests for each day from December 2nd to January 1st. It will be good again to show what is the situation in each borrows. This is the overall condition. We can see that on the 25th of December, the arrest rate was quite low. Maybe the crime was low. But just before the Christmas or on the Christmas Eve per se, you see that there has been quite a good amount of arrest, good number of arrest. So let's see how is the condition for each borrows. We are going to select this arrest borrow and drop it to the colors marks card. Now we see that the maximum number of arrests has happened for Brooklyn and Manhattan. Now there is this label over here in the marks card. I can also, add this arrest key to labels. But if I add this, you see there is a huge number of elements to this visualization, which is kind of very absurd and we do not need it. So I'm going to remove it. Maybe what I can do is I can see the peaks of each region and I can highlight each region over here. So I don't need to highlight all the data. What I can do is I can select some of the data which I see is kind of high and I'm going to highlight them. So we can see that for Staten Island, the number of crimes was pretty low, maybe because the population over there is low. So, and also you can see that for all the boroughs, before Christmas, there has been a good amount of crime that has happened. And just on the day of Christmas, the number of crimes are really low. So this is one insight that we can draw from our data. And, as an action, what we can do is for the next year, say, for example, we can, increase the police force on these dates on the regions that has the highest number of arrests. So these are the insights that you can draw out of your data. These are the actions you can actually take out of this data. Now, again, I'm going to change this sheet's name to arrests over time. And similar to other sheets, I'm going to make it bold and central aligned. And rename this sheet to time, maybe. Yeah. So, so yeah. Next, what we can show is, next we have the latitudes and longitudes. So we have the region's latitude and longitude from where the arrests had happened. Now we can leverage these latitudes and longitudes and show a map visual. So what we can do is, see, by default, this latitude and longitudes are measure items, measurable values, but this is not true. I mean, we cannot perform any sort of aggregation in latitudes and longitudes. So we need to convert this measures to dimensions. So it's pretty simple and you guys know how to do it. So you just have to click on the pill and then you have to convert to, I'm sorry, I just converted to discrete. Sorry. I have to convert it to a dimension. So longitude also, I'm going to convert it to a dimension. Now, I can see that the latitudes and longitudes have been shifted to the dimension pane. Now it's pretty simple. I have to just double click on the latitudes and longitudes and a map is ready by default. Like when I click on the latitudes and longitudes, by default Tableau gives a map visual to me. It knows that latitudes and longitudes actually associates to a map. Now these these circles over here are automatic. I need to change this marks type to a map. And again, I have a null value over here. I'm going to hide this indicator. So I can increase the level of detail to this visual by adding age group. So I'm going to add this age group to the colors pane and I can see the increase in the details of this visualization. You can see that these orange circles are the age group of 25 to 44. The blues are the age group of 18 to 24. Now I'm going to change this sheet name to arrests per age group. Yeah. I'm going to bold it and make it central aligned. So yeah, I'm going to change this sheet name as well over here. Now all these visuals are being created. We have already created these separate sheets wherein we have created individual visuals. Now the next thing is we have to create a dashboard to consolidate all these visuals that we have created into one single place. Now we are going to create a dashboard over here. So by default, when we select the dashboard, we get the minimum size of this. We can change this and make it automatic over here. Now, whatever visuals we have created, you can see that we have got all these sheets over here in the left side pane. Now we are going to select each of these visuals and drag and drop into this canvas. So I'm just going to drag and drop each of these visuals over here. Now, when I add these visuals, you see all the legends associated with these visuals get stacked up in the right hand side. So this is again a area which stacks all the legends over here by default. So what we can do is, it looks kind of absurd over here. So what we can do is we can just select these visuals in each of these legends and drop it below the visualizations. So we are going to select these and drop it to the visualizations. So you need to be a bit careful while doing this. Yeah. Now for the time being, I'm just keeping this top 10 parameter over here, which I'll be moving it in a while. So let me keep it here for the time being. Now we have put all these visualizations to this dashboard. Now we have to create a title for this. So I'm going to show title over here and give this a name, which is New York Crime Analysis. I'm going to make it bold. And also I'm going to add formatting. So I'm going to add a gray background to this title over here. I'm going to shade it with a gray. I'm going to increase the size of this, the width of this title. Now remember, we created the metric card. It's time for us to now add this metric card to our dashboard. Now by default, it actually tries to squeeze in all the visualizations in the dashboard. But then we can change this pattern and make it a floating over here, so that we can actually make it fly around wherever we want to. So we don't want to keep our keep our metric card, aligned to this whole thing, but it's good to show it on the title so that everybody can see that this is the number of arrests. Now we are also going to, so when we attach this arrests, this metric card to the dashboard, we had also created these sex and group filters. So this also gets tied up to the dashboard. Now these filters will be acting as the dashboard filters, which we'll see in a while. So what we are going to do is we are going to make this floating, and we are going to put this to the title area. Now we are going to adjust the size of this a bit so that everything is aligned and looks good. So we have the metric card, we have the filters over here. Now these filters, if I select, you see, it will not be performing whatever it is desired to perform, because I have not given the context to this yet. So I have to apply this filter to all using this data source. Now similarly for this filter also, I'm going to apply this to all using this data source. Now if I select the age group, say for 25 to 44, you see for 25 to 44, all the visualizations changes accordingly. If I select 45 to 64, you see all the visualizations changes accordingly. Now I can also select females or male over here. So let me select a female and see all the visualizations actually interact with each other. Now I'm going to make this also floating because this doesn't look good. Yeah. Now each of these visualizations are not interactive yet. So what we can do is we can make each visualizations interactive to each other. And when you select anything from this visualization, say for example, I want to see dangerous drugs. When I click on dangerous drugs, all the other visualizations respond to it. All the other visualizations change accordingly. And we can see that for dangerous drugs, Brooklyn has the highest number of crimes. For for example, I want to see what is the scene in Staten Island. If I select this, you see for Staten Island on say 18th of December, the number of arrests that has happened is for this particular crime. So each visualizations are now interactive, and you can now get your insights selecting whatever you want from this dashboard. So this is a fully functional dashboard that you have got, and the insights that you can draw from this dashboard is that the highest number of crime is for dangerous drugs, assault, and related offenses. The areas that had the number of maximum number of crimes are Brooklyn and Manhattan. So the jurisdiction, according to the jurisdiction, also the housing jurisdiction has the maximum number of arrests. So coming to the age group, 25 to 44 is the most prone age group to crimes. And the time when arrest has happened is usually just before the Christmas. So the story you can tell out of this is that before Christmas, the maximum number of crime that has happened is on drugs, is about drugs and assault. So it is kind of relatable also, and the number of crimes on Christmas Day is kind of less. So yeah, so these are the insights that you can draw out of this data, and these are the stories that you can tell from this data. So if you guys have any doubt regarding this dashboard, please drop in. We'll address them at the end, and for the time being, I'll pass it over to Aditya.
Okay,
I'll just stop sharing my screen.
Perfect. Cool. So thank you, Pranjal and Gauri, both of you, for your amazing insights. Just give me a second while I share my screen, and hope everybody can see the screen and can also hear me. Can you guys see the screen? Okay, probably I did not share. Okay, you should be able to see the screen now. Yeah, just give it about 10 seconds and then you should be able to see the screen. Okay, so if you guys can see the screen, just give me a yes on the chat really quick. Okay, perfect. So I'm not going to take up too much time. This is just going to lead up to the Q&A. So, we'll just hang around for about 10 minutes more, and it would be good if you put your questions up on the chat, and we'll take them towards the end. So a quick insight into how we can help you on your learning journey. So this was an introduction to how Tableau is an effective tool for data visualization analysis. Similarly, we have other tools in the spectrum like Power BI and so on, which can be very helpful to your organization. So on our end, since Pranjal mentioned earlier that we, are training providers particularly in the data science and business analytics area, we have a suite of courses and workshops which are completely hands-on for, all of you guys to essentially actually get to know how to use the tool more effectively. So the details of those are on your screen in terms of what the content is and what are the different courses we offer. And in terms of when those sessions are going to happen online, so that people from all around the world can join in, there are 3 dates designated to 3 different tools. And based on these 3 different tools, based on the organization you're working with, based on your personal interest, you could take up any one. So starting with Excel, going to Power BI, and also Tableau, based on your comfort, you could take up either one. The dates are on the screen. You have a link where you could actually go in and register. You could also scan the QR code. You can also write into us in case you have any queries related to the content, related to something you would want specifically for an organization. And with that being said, I'd like to thank both the speakers again for their time today and for giving us an insight into how Tableau can be a powerful tool. We'll take any questions now you may have, and you can put up any questions on the chat. I have some questions from before, which I'll get the speakers to try to answer, and also any new questions which come up, we'll take them, and we'll hang around for another 5 to 6 minutes, take some of those questions, and then close up for today. So let me get to the questions which I have from earlier in the session. So one of the questions which I think would help everybody uh, is, how do I do data cleaning, and whether what we use today was essentially something which was already cleaned, or whether it was something which we have had to clean data. So data cleaning is basically a method which is done on any data which is not clean, and there are numerous methods to clean the data depending on the type of data you have. So a standard method generally enforces things like you removing or imputing values into empty cells, you correcting incorrect data in terms of values, you doing some basic statistical measurements to check whether the min and max values lie within the the desired range, or whether they lie very far away from each other. So all of these things can be done on the data itself, and this is what we did with the data beforehand, because in the interest of time we had to concentrate more on the tool and storytelling and the visualizations. So data cleaning is definitely one of the steps you could do. One of the questions also was, how do I import data into Tableau? As soon as you open up Tableau, you get a screen where it shows you a number of data sources. You can just click on CSV, Excel, SQL, Server, any data source, and you can directly just connect to it or link to the source. So it's very simple once you open Tableau. One of the questions I have, and I think I'll get Pranjal to take this one up, is how do we get insight from dashboards as a manager? I think I'll let Pranjal take this one up, since he initially started off by talking about visualization and storytelling. Pranjal, do you want to take that up?
Yeah, sure, Adi. Basically, it's about, okay, so first you have to understand a little difference between the report or the charts and the dashboard. So dashboard is nothing but a collection of all the different graphs that what you have. So a dashboard is basically one screen that is showing all the KPIs, all those business related important things that you want to show to a management team, right? So in one glance, actually anyone can see what is the growth. Suppose it's a marketing, suppose, so it's like what is your total sales, what is the total profit, how you are doing, how your firm is doing on year basis or month on month basis. So there's a trend as well. So as a manager, definitely that's one slide is very important. That is your end result. Basically, if you are trying to convince to any client or any another vendor as well. So that's how all the insights, when you talk about insight, that means you have to focus on all those important KPIs that you have to put from reports into dashboard. So that's how you can do.
Okay, great. Thank you, Pranjal, for that. So just summarizing that, basically you as a manager have business knowledge. You use that business knowledge along with in coordination with people who know about the tool, and you put two and two together, create your dashboard, and then ultimately get some insights out of it. Tableau is a proprietary software. How much is the software cost? So it's basically, they have multiple pricing models. On a per user basis, it starts from about $47 per user per month. That's where it starts from, and then it scales up based on the level of Tableau which you take up, whether it's premium or whether you need scale, what all you need. So it's quite expensive if you compare it to Power BI, which is about $9.90 per month. So yeah. Okay, another question which we have is, does Tableau have features to determine the margin of error in processing the result of data? So let me quickly take that one up. So depending on what you're trying to process, Tableau has a few things. Tableau shows you things like margin of errors for statistical calculations, such as maybe variance, mean, and so on. If you're doing things like forecasting, for example, you have things such as confidence intervals, which again are not particularly errors, but ranges of data within which your forecast values would lie. So Tableau does incorporate some of those features, and probably in our workshops you would see how that works as well. Can Tableau be accessible in any software? I don't quite understand the question, but you could export Tableau reports and dashboards to PDFs, PowerPoints, for example. You can embed Tableau reports once you publish them on your website. Apart from that, I'm not sure whether you can access Tableau anywhere else, but as far as I know, you cannot. Okay, great. Okay. What if I add a new data in the Excel file? Is it automatically updated on Tableau desktop, or do I need to configure or set it up again? Gauri, do you want to take up that question?
Yeah, so there is the refresh option, which actually enables Tableau to, refresh the data once you connect it to the data source. So it gets automatically updated on Tableau desktop. Yes.
Great, thanks. So, just summarizing that, you have basically something called a live connection. We can do to your Excel file. So when it's a live connection, then once you put data in Excel, you can refresh it on Tableau automatically. So you don't need to configure and set it up again. All your dashboards, charts will be refreshed with the new data. Okay, great. I think Carlo has raised his hand. Do you have a question you want to type on the chat, or do you want me to unmute you, and do you want us, to talk about the question? If Carlo, you could just quickly type on the chat whether you want us to enable your voice, then you let me know. I will do that. In the meantime, Jemmy has a question which basically says, you get a lot of data in your company, and your data is big data. You have a lot of missing data there, not complete. Is it possible to show visualizations, like this? And how do you handle situations, such as this? So, Jemmy, basically, whenever you have a lot of data, be it big data, be it not so big data, data cleaning is what consumes most of your time. And in any scenario, be it your kind of organization or any other organization, you have to spend some time cleaning the data. And what you do is you set up something known as a data pipeline, which could be something which Tableau does within itself, or something which you do externally where you spend some time cleaning some of the data. If you have missing data and you want to see it on Tableau, what generally happens is at the end of the day, you could work around to get these visualizations, but you might have insights incorrectly derived from them. So you want to avoid those. And since you want to avoid those, you would want to clean your data before. So you would need skills like SQL to clean the data. If your data is sitting on big data stores or SQL, you would also need, obviously at the end of the day, some visualization tools, skills on some visualization tools, so that you could get it up here like Tableau. So that's in summary what you would essentially need. Okay. Are there any other last couple of questions which you would want us to address? We're about 16 minutes. Okay. Can you clean big data using Python? Yes, you could clean big data using Python, though I would advise you to use something like Spark to clean data. which is probably very big because you would need a lot of compute and parallel processing when you're essentially cleaning big data. So my suggestion would be using something like PySpark to clean the data, or you could do it at source. If depending on if your data is in SQL, you could probably do it within SQL itself, or you might have Hive or something like that, which is storing your big data. You could do it at source, or you could use Spark. Okay, great. I think if those are all the questions we have, then I'm just going to take up one last question, and before I end, so that's from Gabriel. Can Tableau be used for dynamic charts real time? Um, Tableau can be used for dynamic charts in real time. You'll have to set up the pipeline to automatically refresh Tableau. You would use something called as Tableau data stores for essentially storing the data coming in dynamically and then refreshing that, because that would be much faster than you refreshing it from an Excel sheet. So you would have to set up some pipeline. Cool. So that's the end of today. Thanks a lot for joining in. I hope everybody had something to learn. They could take away a few things today. We'll send you a copy of the recording. You could reference that for anything done today, as well as if you want the links from the presentation and access to the workshops, you could essentially use the recording for that, or you could use the links in the follow-up email. So thanks once again. Have a good day, evening, and if it's close to night, then have a good night, and see you guys in the next sessions, and stay safe. That's all from our end.